Welcome back to the show, and let's focus on the deal street. And joining me in this discussion is Abhinav Bharti, who's the MD and Head of India ECM or Equity Capital Market at JPMorgan. Joins us now from the sidelines of JPMorgan India Investor Summit for this year. Abhinav, always a pleasure to welcome you on CNBC-TV18. You're meeting a whole host of your clients and some of the big investors. Give us a sense of the foreign investor mindset on the Indian capital markets.
First and foremost, thank you for inviting me on the show. Look, I think the sentiment for India continues to remain quite robust at this point in time. All the conversations, despite the up move that we have seen in the market. Hi, am I audible?
Yes, Abhinav, please go on.
Yes. So all the conversations we are having here at the conference and otherwise as well seem to suggest that India has now become a lot more fundamental to investor portfolios. I would actually go ahead and say that it is not just about a China plus one kind of a strategy, but effectively the long-term growth visibility that the market and the companies out here are offering. I think that is really driving a lot of fundamental interest in the market for foreign investors. What you would see is basically a pattern recognition where trend lines around India's weightage in various indices, whether it is emerging markets and others, would keep going up, and that makes it a must-own in a lot of investor portfolios amongst foreign investors. So yes, this is a trend that we continue to see, and if anything, will have more strength going forward.
All right, so pipeline is also looking strong, Abhinav, and all the commentary are heading towards a bullish sentiment when it comes to the drivers for the equity market transactions. Now, one of the big, themes for this particular year has been the private equity exits. What's your view on the way it's played out, and what is the investor sentiment and the pipeline looking like in that particular front for the rest of the year?
So that will indeed be the case for going forward, because the way to really think about it is that a lot of private equity investments are also, and therefore the exits, is a function of really think of it as a cycle. What we are seeing this year is India is one market where you can actually do large-sized exits, therefore at scale, and do it at a pretty compelling price levels which the market has been offering. And that helps in, just making it a virtuous cycle where, the next phase of investments from private equity and VC investors happen in the country. It's just a sign of a very, very healthy and a strong capital markets that we are seeing here. My sense is that cycle continues as we have seen this year going forward into next year. In fact, it's giving confidence to a lot of global sponsors and financial funds that they could actually think about making larger bets in the country. And you are able to, recycle that capital and showcase returns. So as a trend line, I think that's certainly supportive. Yes.
That's right. It gives a lot more confidence to the foreign investors when it comes to the big bets in the Indian market, because exit opportunities are available. But Abhinav, a lot of this has been supported by the HNI as well as the small and mid-cap funds pumping in money, and there has been a demand. Yes. Give us a view on this particular demand and the liquidity going on for the rest of the year and in the next year as well.
So if you were to really look at from a flows perspective, the foreign versus the domestic side of flows, I would argue that always the domestic side of the story is a lot more secular. I think those trend lines are very clear. The foreign side of equation will have some of it, related volatility depending upon growth differentials that India has versus the developed market, as well as the US interest rate cycle. But on the domestic side, I think we are starting to see a market where wealth creation is starting to happen at a very, very large scale. Not just at the top of the pyramid, but at the middle of the pyramid as well, if I would argue. And that money will get funneled through mutual funds, through AIFs, through wealth managers, and directly through HNIs as well. So it's certainly giving a lot more strength to the market. In fact, one of the points I would highlight is if you were to really look at India versus most other markets, even including US, we have delivered returns, not the only market, there are others as well. But we have delivered returns at a much lower VIX levels versus, let's say, the global markets or US VIX or global VIX. That effectively is something that investors would always prefer, a market that gives you returns with lesser volatility.
Yes.
It's something that really attracts long-term investors.
Right. It's a very good point that you made, Abhinav, but I would ask you on the IPO trends as well. We have seen fair bit of action on the IPO market, the capital market transactions as well, and some of the interesting names have come in. Now we are seeing another attempt by the startup and the tech-based companies again trying to make it to the IPO market. How do you see the prospects, the appetite, as well as the pipeline?
So this time around, if you see, the focus on profitability by the sector has been a lot more. Clearly, in the market, and this is the good thing about what markets do, they actually bring a certain amount of discipline when they spoke loudly in the year 2022 that profitability is a must. And I think what we have seen is the ecosystem has responded quite strongly. A lot of companies have continued to grow strongly, but at the same time focused on profitability and have started delivering that. So my sense is, look, in India, the percentage or weightage of new age consumer tech companies is still at a very, very low levels. It's sub 2% if you look at it from a market cap basis. So there's only one way that will go up. That is very clear. But the fact remains that now you would start seeing a lot more stronger stories coming to the market where profitability has been proven. And that will effectively lead to investors having a lot more confidence on that side.
Right. So, Abhinav, at least we hear that Swiggy, PayU, some of these companies, along with Ola Electric, some of them would try and make an attempt. But very good takeaways from the ECM market. Thanks so much for joining us from the sidelines of your Investor Summit. Thanks so much. And with that, we will wrap it on this particular segment. But on the other side, Manisha Gupta joins in.